Morning, good evening, good afternoon. The story I've got for you tonight is one of, it's a tragic story, really, of the problem with the cult mentality. This is an apostolic faith cult near Norton, about 30 kilometers west of capital city Harare, where the group has been involved and some of the leaders have been arrested for doing all manner of things, abusing children, denying them, some of the cases, denying them basic health care services and so forth. Benjamin, this is a personality cult problem.
Good evening to everybody. Yeah, this is a very, very sad story. One that shouldn't even be happening in the 21st century. For people to be so brainwashed, to be so conned into giving up. Basically, I would say they gave away their rights as humans. They gave away their ability to think for themselves, to make decisions for themselves. Everything had that makes us human beings was taken away, or them giving it away. It's sad to find out that in this day and age, people can easily be conned into believing such nonsense. Not just believing, but actually living that every day, today life, living a lie. It's really, really sad and pathetic at the same time.
The main problem we tend to have in Zimbabwe is that this is not an isolated case. This has happened again and again. And let's be honest, when it comes to religion, I think we have seen some of our people becoming almost fanatical. There is nothing wrong with being religious. But let's not be so naive as to believe anything we are told. This is what this personality cult comes in. Some of the things that are happening in Zimbabwe, it really worries me. What kind of people would be easily conned into believing some of those ideas? I think it is worrying. In this particular case, I don't know whether you remember some of the crimes these people have been charged with.
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, the leader, I think his name is Madzibaba Ishmael. He is charged with, rape of young girls, whom he has actually impregnated and made them to be, his wives. And the age is. If I had it my way, I would lock him up and throw away the key and just totally forget about him, because the ages are, some are 11, some are 15, and they have already 2-3 kids going on there. You just fail to understand, okay, if somebody is at that age, surely when did you begin raping these kids? They must have been very, very young. And not one, but to go and take 5 or 6 kids and make them your wives. It's just pathetic. And what is worse off is I honestly believe the mothers and the fathers of these children are actually within that same organization. I mean, surely, it's really sad. It's really sad when you come to think of it, that you could actually, you know, leave your child, at such an early age like that, and give to somebody at that level of, I can't say it's naivety. I think it's stupidity at some point. We have to draw a line between the two to say, no, this is, it's just somebody that is just incredibly naive, and then somebody that is clear outright stupid. I think they go to the terms, they define stupidity at, at its best. It's really sad. It's pathetic at the same time. But
Well,
you're also okay.
well, what I was going to say there is one of the things that has happened here is not the sexual abuse of these young kids. Some of the church followers have become so brainwashed that they've literally undermined our democratic process. Churches have become a favorite hunting ground for politicians. They know they can go to some of these apostolic faith churches, some of these indigenous churches, and they only have to win the confidence of the church leader, and they know they've got the rest of the followers sport. And so you find leaders like Mugabe and now Mnangagwa and Chamisa and all the other leaders, they have all been competing to win the favors of these church leaders. Because they know the minute you got the church leaders win them over, you have got their followers as well. And so corrupt leaders like Mugabe and Mnangagwa, who have got the resources, have been quick to bribe the church leaders, give them farms, generous loans, buy them cars. And the church leaders, the church followers, have not been making their own political decision. They've been brainwashed into believing that whoever the church leader says you should vote for is the person we must all vote for. I think this is what I find so pathetic with this personality cult mentality. It has gone from the church to politics and almost every other section of society. This is a serious problem.
Yes, I mean, I think we should also look at the fact that, why are some of these, events targeted, especially in Africa, or let me specifically say in Zimbabwe. I believe once people are impoverished, once people are desperate, where they look and see no way out, that is when they are most vulnerable. And unfortunately, there are people that have come out, and operated as if they are there to help, they are there to offer guidance, they're there to offer, a direction in people's lives. Yet these same people are the ones that are moving them further and further into problems as in debt, problems as in, further impoverishment and stuff like that. Because I mean, look at the amount of churches that have just sprung up in Zimbabwe. We are looking at this year particular one. Yes, this year may be extreme, but there is a lot of even educated people, the ones that you actually say this year is a doctor. But you find that same doctor is being told, if you buy a brick with $20, for sure you're going to go and build a house. And that person is going to remove his, the last $20 that he has to buy that brick. Yet that brick where that pastor got it from, he probably bought it for 50 cents. Right? And then you start to wonder, where is that knowledge that you're supposed to get? Where is the reasoning out of all this? I sometimes it just baffles one's mind to actually say, is it just incredibly naive, or now this is just clear-cut stupidity? I think we really need to start thinking for. I've always said this. Unless we manage to start to think for ourselves, this will not end. Zimbabwe will always be going under and under and under. And when I say Zimbabwe, I mean people. I don't mean the land. I don't mean the land will always be there. But us, what we are doing to it, a society is you can only tell a society where it's headed by its people. And the way we are conducting or going our business, we are not taking it in the right direction. I don't think so. And then hence you find people are marrying off kindergarten. Sad, pathetic.
Yeah, I would want to conclude my presentation on this issue with the case of the opposition leader Nelson Chamisa. He is one individual who has seized religion and taken advantage of the people's blind belief in religion to the other extreme. Nelson Chamisa has been telling people God is in it. And yet, time and time again, whatever he told them, God is in it, has not come true. And yet people continue to believe it. Just because he qualified it with God is in it. There is nothing wrong with being religious. But being religious does not mean we should stop thinking for ourselves. We should stop thinking altogether. Because that is what is happening here. People have stopped thinking. How could somebody tell you that Triple C is going to win big because I plugged all the vote rigging loopholes? God is in it. And you believe it. 2 million Zimbabweans were conned by that last year. 2 million. And that is those who went on to vote for Chamisa. How many more out there believed in it and encouraged their neighbors and friends and relatives to support Chamisa because they believed in that blatant lie? There is nothing wrong with religion. But when you start yourself to the point of you're going to follow somebody blindly, this personality cult mentality, the great leader is right mentality, Comrade Napoleon is always right mentality, we are in serious trouble because of it. The Greeks were absolutely right that the citizen, the only person who should really have the vote, is the one who is educated, knowledgeable, and diligent. We have given the vote to people who have given up their right to think. And this has undermined our endeavors to have a healthy and functioning democracy in Zimbabwe. One of the things, ironically, why these members of the apostolic faith have been allowed to continue operating in Zimbabwe is because they believe, because of their political connections, ZANU-PF ruling elite turned a blind eye to the goings on there, because they wanted the supporters' vote. I couldn't find, well, I didn't search really, but I couldn't find a photograph of Mnangagwa wearing one of the long dresses often worn by these apostolic faith members. Chiwenga himself among them. Mugabe and his wife, Grace, attended some of these church gatherings. They wanted the vote, and the church leaders of these sects wanted to exploit the naivety and ignorance of their followers. We are not going to see an end of this until people make a conscientious effort to think there is nothing wrong with religion, but for Christ's sake, let's not be holier to the point of we want God to do everything for us, to the point where we believe anything that is qualified with God is in it, even if it is absolutely, utterly stupid. To believe and to participate in an election which you know is flawed, to give the ruling party legitimacy because you believed that somebody had plugged vote rigging loopholes, is the most outrageous thing that we have done as a nation. And I think it clearly shows that we as a people, we are not yet ready for a healthy and functioning democracy. We still have got a long way to go. If we've got 2 million brainwashed voters out there, we've got a long way to go.
A long way to go. I agree with you. I think what differentiates us from animals, is our ability to think. But once we give away that ability to reason, to think as an individual, actually it's not, it's a right, it's a fundamental right, and it's healthy for one to actually express their own opinion, and it brings growth throughout, the whole community when people discuss, not just blind loyalty. I think this is the biggest problem that Zimbabwe is facing. Besides the regime, it is us, our inability to think for ourselves, to ask questions, to reason, to provide facts. Surely, if we can't do that day for ourselves, then I really don't know how we can be helped. I'm sorry, this is how I would conclude to say, if we cannot think for ourselves, how do we expect people to help us?
Well, on that note, I will also endorse that and really seriously call on the people of Zimbabwe to stop this personality cult, great leader mentality. It is not going to get us out of this mess. Thank you very much, Benjamin.
Thank you for having me, and good night to our viewers.